Hey, Pastor Jay here. I just wanted to share with you my favorite Bible story today. And my favorite Bible story is the story of Elijah on Mount Carmel and all that transpired there. I just love the story. I'm not a big, I played sports in high school and college and stuff. I've never really been a big trash talker. I don't really like people who do a lot of trash talking. To me, you just let your play do the talking for you. It's kind of my thought. Well, Mount Carmel, the story of Mount Carmel and Elijah, man, you talk about some trash talking. I love it because it's trash talking for God. And Elijah, he challenges the prophets of Baal to this contest and the prophets of Asherah. And he says, listen, we're going to have this contest. And whoever's God, shows up, comes through, that's the God. That's the true God. And that's the God that we as Israel are going to worship going forward. Now, if you remember, Israel was in the midst of the third year of a drought. This was a very serious situation. And so the prophets of Baal, they come, and Elijah's there, and the prophets of Asherah are there. And he says, you go ahead, you prepare this bull, you pick whatever bull you want, and you prepare a sacrifice. Just don't light fire to the wood. Don't set it on fire, but prepare the sacrifice, everything up till lighting it on fire. And then I will do the same. So the prophets of Baal, they did that. They prepared their offering, and they sang, and they shouted, and they cried out, and they asked the Baal to strike the sacrifice with fire, to light it on fire, and nothing happened, of course, right? And so all day long they shouted, and so now Elijah's having a little fun with them, saying, hey, maybe you got to shout a little louder. Maybe he went to the bathroom, or maybe he's on a trip, or maybe he's sleeping. And you need to wake them up. So, shout louder. And so they did. They shouted, and they cut themselves, and they pleaded. But of course, nothing happened. And then as it was getting to evening, Elijah said, okay. And he prepared the sacrifice to God, to the Lord. And he prepared it. And then he said, you know what? We're talking about fire, lighting things on fire. And he says, well, let's go ahead and drench it. So he had servants come with jars of water, and they just douse the offering and the altar in the bowl that had been sacrificed. They just doused it all with water. 3 times they went, and they just poured water on it. And then Elijah prays, and he calls upon God, the true God, and he says, bring fire down. And of course, God answers the prayer and burned up everything, the bowl, the altar, the rocks, everything. It even burned up the water that was around it, that had been overflowed. It just had taken it all away. And so the people then fell on their face, and they cried out to God. And I love that story, and I love all the parts of that. But then if you read the next part of the story, because again, they were in the third year of a drought. And so he says, you need to go, and he tells King Ahab, go prepare a feast. The Israel has returned to the Lord. And then he tells one of his servants to go to the coast. He says, because God's going to send rain now. And all this has happened. Elijah has done all this in the name of God, in the name of the Lord. And he goes and he sends a servant. He says, go and see if any rain's coming on the horizon. Because I've kind of stuck my neck out there. I've said that rain's coming. The drought's going to be over. And so he sends the servant, and the servant comes back. There's nothing. So Elijah says, all right, go again. So he sends him a second time. Still nothing. Third time, fourth time. Finally, the 7th time. He sent the servant 7 times to go check. And finally, the 7th time, he says, yeah, there's just a little bit of a cloud, reaching up over the horizon. And he says, all right, go and tell King Ahab, he better get home now. Otherwise, the rain's going to stop and make it impossible for him to get home, because rain is on the way. And what I love about that story, and that second part of it especially, I love the whole dramatic part of Mount Carmel, the showdown with the other prophets. I love that. And God comes through. That's awesome, right? We love the happy ending. But I really love the next part there, the whole sending the servant, because of the faith that Elijah showed. He sent it once, but he didn't allow that to defeat him. Sometimes we do that, right? We things don't work out the first time. We think, oh, where's God? Why did he let me down? But he had faith to know that, I gotta trust. I know that I did this all in God's name. He wasn't doing it to promote himself or to show, to brag on himself or anything. This was all done in the name of the Lord. And so he sent him a second time, a third time. And every time he had confidence, well, okay, not this time, but it's going to happen. And he kept sending them. And who knows? I mean, if it took 20 times, he probably would have sent them 20 times, I'm sure. But the 7th time, and then it was just a cloud over the horizon. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, there's thunder and lightning. The National Weather Service hadn't issued any kind of severe weather alert, or a code red, so he just knew, hey, there's a cloud. And so he said, go tell the king. I just love the faith of Elijah, the faith that he demonstrated there, because he knew what he was doing was in the name of the Lord. He knew that God would honor it. And so he just did it. He had faith. He watched it. And even when things didn't go right the first time, second time, he kept sending them because he knew what was going to happen. He knew because of his faith in God, faith in the Lord, that he was going to come through, that he was going to send rain. And then when he just saw the cloud, he's like, all right, that's it. It's over. God's answered this prayer. And that faith just really challenged me. I want to be a person like that, who has that kind of faith, that even when things don't work out the first time, okay, God, I'm trusting you. I know you're going to come through. It may not be in my time, and oftentimes it's not, right? Let's be honest. But God's going to come through. So be encouraged today. Know that if God has spoken to you, if God has given you a promise in his word, that he is faithful and he is true and he's going to keep it. We can have faith in knowing that. It may not always work out the way we want and the time we want, but God is working for our good. Even in the midst of coronavirus and everything else, God is working for his good to build his kingdom. So my challenge to you again is just send a little video out. You can act it out. You can just talk, whatever it is, but just send a video out of your favorite Bible story and why it impacts you so much. And I look forward to seeing all your different responses. It'll be fun for us as a church to kind of just keep in touch during this time that way. So God bless you. We'll see you soon. Take care.